Hello, everyone, and I'm really, really delighted to introduce you to Fleur Adams. Now, with Fleur, it's been a little bit of a tussle getting her here because even though she is a vivacious and gregarious woman and she does the most amazing events here in Perth, she prefers to be behind the scenes and behind the screen. So to get her here, had to entice her to, we've actually put it off twice because we had all sorts of excuses, didn't we, Fleur? So I'm going to hand you over to,
come on.
pardon, say that again?
Between us, come on.
I know it was between us. Hey, I'm just going to put it to you. And in fact, today, ladies and whoever's watching, with this, though, we're going to be perfectly imperfect because this is what it's all about. So Fleur was going, oh, my background's messy. But hey, that's where she's at. I've got all this red here because I'm using some stuff for some skin cancers. And we both thought, let's just do it because this is what life is all about. So Fleur, would you like to just start the conversation? We are just allowing this to happen, everyone, because sometimes we don't know what we're going to talk about and we're just trusting it's meant to come through.
Morning, Chantal.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for having me today. As we just said, yeah, imperfect, perfect in the background. That's you can see I've got boxes, I've got files, I've got clothing hanging. So my office space is also my library. It's also my sewing room. It's creative space. So in the background, if I move my head one of the ways, you can just see there's a decoration happening there, which was the Mad Hats for one event. There's always something in the background. I did at one point like it all perfect, clean, straight lines. It wasn't working.
Yeah.
Doesn't allow it. It's like, no, just go with the flow of it all instead and let it envelop me, because it means I can actually go for a moment and go, oh my God, nothing's working. I can't figure something. No, sit on the floor, and it's amazing what comes up when that happens.
Yeah.
So.
Love it, because I'm the opposite. I need it to be neat and tidy. And this is what, again, why I really love what you're saying, because in life, we are taught to do it a certain way, aren't we? How we run our business, how we lead our lives, how we're fitted in this box. And sometimes if you've been through trauma or something big's happened, it's to keep you safe. Whereas for you, doing it that way is where you need to be.
Rest of the house is neat and tidy and
okay.
full of artwork and inspiration, but my office is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And I couldn't live with the rest of the house being like this is, but that's okay. Yeah. You know, you've got to have a space to work in, a space that, yeah, feels safe.
Exactly. It does feel safe and to work. And that way, because I love, as I mentioned earlier, so anyone who's in Perth and you want to be part of an event, like have a stall, and that's Fleur's is extraordinary with that, how she organizes it. But it is about being creative, but it's also about how do you support yourself, particularly when things go terribly wrong.
Yeah, and I must admit, last year I had my last event the week before Christmas, and I planned on having that time off after and just sitting behind the sewing machine, finishing a whole pile of dresses that were cut out, ready to go. What I didn't plan on was putting my back out 2 days after the markets and being flat out on my back for the whole Christmas and New Year's break, and feeling better. Cut a piece of fabric out, dropped it on the floor, and put my back out again. I think it was the universe saying you really need to have a rest from everything, because I couldn't sit on the computer. Even lifting the phone up was hard work. I must admit, I would have rather had that break doing, things for me, not just watching movies on the TV like I did. It was good. I did need it. The dogs thought it was heaven, because one of them got to sit on the couch next to me, and every time I groaned with pain, she'd put a paw on me or a chin on me going, it's okay. You know, that's cool. And yeah, I've got back into everything now. I know I'm my worst enemy. I work very hard at what I do. I've expanded my business tenfold in the last 6 months, and that was a conscious decision. I did have it written down as one of my goals to do. It really has taken off to a massive point that I'm working out I need more staff. I have one during the week. I think she might need to be 2 days at the rate I'm going, and I have 5 staff on weekends for the events when they're on, and even then we're getting to the point we haven't got enough. And it means I need to step back in some places and give time to me,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. Thank you, because that's what I was going to actually give time to, because I've
Mm.
known you for a while, and we've talked about this on and off. How do we make time for ourselves? How do we step back, particularly if you're
Mm.
starting a business and there's fear around money? Are you going to make it? And to watch you grow exponentially. But I've also watched you. I'm going to be, honest here. You
Devil's
haven't always.
advocate.
Pardon?
The devil's advocate, and
Yeah.
I need them.
Yeah, you do, and you do. It doesn't always mean you listen, but that's not the point. So, like we were talking earlier.
6 months later, I take that in and go, yeah, she was right, and I will implement it.
Yes, and it's good to see. Like even we were just talking before, how what we were going to talk about here as well, how you're not supporting yourself. Like that cup of tea you just had. Explain to us, what that cup of tea actually means for you at the moment.
During a working day, it means shut the computer down, go boil the kettle, make a cup of tea, and walk the dogs around the yard. So that's basically every hour I have the alarm set and I get up. It's whether it's a bottle of water or a cup of tea, either way, but it's that break away from what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I know it's going to take over what I'm doing and there'll be no break in my life.
Yes, and I'm just making notes because I do this. No break in your life, and I think that is really hitting the spot, because when we are so busy doing, we don't take a break. In fact, we don't sit down literally to smell the roses. We don't enjoy life.
That's exactly it. I've been getting up because it's crack of dawn. It's 5 o'clock at the minute. There's light out there. Hubby heads off to work at 5:30, so I'm up with him at the same time. But I spend half an hour out in the garden.
Good. Yes.
I don't do much because I'm not pushing the back issue too far at the moment because it's still twinging. But it's half an hour. It's nice and cold out there. I can actually see a dent being made out there in what I've done. It's a good feeling.
Yes. Yes. It is a good feeling. I think what I'm loving hearing is that in that time, it's also about us being able to look back with pride of what we've achieved.
Yeah.
Because often we look back and think, oh, this didn't work, that didn't work, and oh my God, what am I going to do in the future? But we don't stand there and look back, literally turn around and look back and go, wow.
Yeah. I've recently done a little of that because my D-Stash events is where everything started. So that's 7 years back.
Explain what D-Stash is so people know what that is.
For those who don't know what a D-Stash is, the art and craft world tend to have what we call, in theory, it's a house, okay? No, it's a storage room, because we always have, as you can see behind me here with the boxes at the top, it's full of art supplies. And then there's over that side, there's fabric that goes from floor to ceiling. Then there's blanket boxes full of fabric as well. Now, my whole room used to be full of fabric, so I've actually gotten rid of it by doing what's called de-stash. Now, that is what I did. Was I decided 7 years ago with a sewing group that I had, I said, so who here has got the same issue as me is never going to use the fabric they own before they die? Every hand went up in that group. So I said, how about I do a swap meet? Only sewing supplies. Took me 6 months to work out all the regulations, all the insurances, everything that was involved in putting it together so people were safe, it was done right, the Shire was happy, all of those things. We had 48 sellers at that first one doing exactly the same as me, getting rid of stuff. The people that came through that door to buy, we had hundreds that first day. It was just mind-blowing. And I thought, one's fine. That's all I'll do. Not a problem. The girls are packing up going, when's the next one? Oh. Yeah. I'll get back to you on that. It grew, and it's 7 years later now, and I've done it in quite a lot of different areas around WA. It will expand further up north and down south at the moment, which is one of the major thoughts and written down thoughts. So, but again, that's going to be staff for me to add to that area. But it's grown from just being sewing to all craft supplies now to an event I've got in a few weeks, which we're looking at roughly 100 sellers involved. It's mind-blowing from what's cluttering up a house to now cluttering up someone else's house.
That's right. But they've created space to hopefully do that. And what I'm
Yeah.
loving is hearing your success. So I'd like to ask you, like, where have you come from? How do you have this self-belief? You know, because have you had things in your life that have stopped you, or what have you overcome to be able to get to this point of, because I've watched over the years and you, I really admire you because you're giving me hope to keep going. You know, and I
you.
watch you and I just think, sometimes I do think you're mad because I don't think you take enough
Yeah.
care of yourself, but that's okay. Yeah.
Put it this way, that first event I put on, one woman came up to me after and said, I don't know how you could do something like this with a father like yours.
Okay.
That was incentive enough at that day to keep pushing through. My father's not the nicest person. To me, my mother, my son, my daughter, he adores, doesn't do anything wrong by her. The rest of us, yeah. And it's scarred me for life, and I know that. Yeah, I'm sitting here shaking because of the thoughts of it, but that's okay. I've pushed through a lot of crap. I have two great kids. Yeah. One's nearly 30, the other's just turned 18. I followed the path of what my father was like with partners until the one I'm with now. Yeah. I got more scars on my body and in my mind than most women should ever have to deal with. There's days and there's things that can trigger it. I've known I keep persevering through it all though. I don't want to be that one on the floor just giving up.
Yes, thank you.
I've had people that I have in the different events I run go through the black I have. COVID was a horrible time for the events industry I'm involved in. I lost one vendor to suicide. Next one, I was their protocol to ring. I got help out to them. They're doing reasonably okay now, but that's 2 years after. Reasonably okay. I watched businesses go down that were flourishing. And yeah, behind the scenes, I did whatever I could to keep their business afloat or them afloat. You know, most people don't know I was sending out food hampers and stuff to people, and I didn't have an income. I was using my own super to keep going. Yeah, it's been a hard time. Some of the stuff that comes in, and there's some phenomenal supportive events organisers out there, and then there's others, and the only word I've got for it is they're absolute bitches. They, instead of supporting one another, it's pull each other down. And at the end of the day, what I do is to support those hundreds of businesses and families that come under my roof, whatever I'm running. I've had nearly every event. There is some form of like people like Beyond Blue and mental health agencies involved, either in the background or on the day. It's been horrendous seeing some of the stuff I've had to see and hear. And I had one lady say to me, she said, you walk into a room and people are scared of you because you look so put together with what you do. What they don't know is I'm shaking inside going, what the hell am I doing here? I don't need to be here, but I need to be there for them. It's been an interesting road. I did at least go see a psychologist for 2 years and talk to them about everything I'd been through. I've actually just booked the dentist at long last. Not just a good old-fashioned clean scale, it's to go get the chips fixed in my teeth. you know. They're little things that's why I don't normally sit in front of a camera with people, because you might not see it, I do. And that's one little thing for me that I'm fixing this year. You know, we can all go see a makeup artist and a hairdresser and get everything looking picture perfect. But if you don't want to open your mouth, it's not there.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Thank you, Fleur. I really, really appreciate and honor this journey you've taken us through and your rawness, because, as you said, we show, I think your words were, we show a strong person, like that woman said to you, but behind the scenes, people don't know what's happened.
No.
And you doing this, sharing this with me, thank you, is showing others, giving them hope and courage, you know?
Yeah.
And your heart is so big. It is. In fact, put your hand on your heart.
I can feel
Just
it
want
going
you to
nuts
hear.
right now.
Pardon?
It's going a bit nuts at the minute. I can
I'm
feel
not
it.
surprised. I'm not surprised. So just take a moment. We can just take a moment to pause, to allow yourself to come back, and I can have a chat. You know, this is anyone who's watching. Pardon?
I'll drink my tea, because that's my should we call it my fail safe?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, drink your tea. That's exactly right. And while Fleur's drinking her tea, you know, this is what I honor about women when I do these conversations, clients, and just chatting, is the courage and strength it takes. Because when you're in trauma, I know for me, you don't feel courageous, but in fact you are. And to then share your story like you have, Fleur, takes even really more courage, you know. And we might not relate to the story, but what we relate to are the emotions and the feelings. And that cup of tea. No, let's face it, and also it's very British. Everything's about a cup of tea when you cry. I mean, I don't want to make light, but you know, let's have a cup of tea. I don't drink tea because, you know, my mother's Australian English, but let's have a cup of tea. Okay, Mum, I'll have a cup of tea, because it's a symbol of what it means.
Yeah. Oh,
You
you'll
know?
laugh. My girls know to give me a coffee on event day. It's the only way they slow me down, because my body reacts different.
Yes.
Coffee on most people, they're bouncing. I do the
Yes.
opposite. I chill for a while.
Yes. 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 Actually, it's interesting you say that. I was having some work done on me, homeopathy, and that when I first had the trauma, and I was like wound up. And at that point, I was still drinking Coca-Cola. And because yeah, I know, that's okay. That was my vice. I don't now, but I remember going to him and him saying, because I said I never got that hyped up like everyone's, and that, you know, I very rarely had a liter, but if I had, and he said no, because like you, my body, it actually calmed me rather than hyped me. I went, oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
You know,
It's good to be different.
yeah, exactly. And this is again coming back to this. We are all different. And just because most people say coffee and caffeine hypes you, well, for some of us, it doesn't. And we might be in a small percentage. But it's actually, that's our reality. Exactly. Yep. It is good for you, you know. And I think that's something, when I've been at some of your events as a store holder, what I love about you is how you might be inside, but yet there's always an element when, you know, she knows what she's doing. Here, you've overcome stuff. You and also I'd like you to affirm this. You are confident in what you're doing. You are confident when something comes up that you might not know. Just talk a little bit more about that, you know, that let's say you felt triggered, like you had something happen personally recently that could have gone in. Just talk about, how do you do this?
Yeah. Last year, what is she? She's second cousin, second aunt, something like that, came over from England for a visit, and I've actually never met most of my mum's family. So it was kind of really nice to, you know, put family together, shall we say, because I've got my son, I've got my daughter, my parents, and I've got cousins in Queensland. That's it. That's my family base here. So she came across for a visit, and I took her, my mum, and my daughter out for the day because my son was at school still. And we came home, and I'd gotten a phone call just before I got home from the school that he'd stuffed up. Like, talked back at the teachers and basically wouldn't shut up. He just kept going on at them. So there was a meeting having to be called because of it. So I've come in the house and said, okay, what on earth has gone on? And he, not realising he'd already talked to his dad, so he was still really up there.
Yeah.
He put his fist into the door of the bedroom. Unfortunately, that was a trigger for me. So he got some home truths that I don't think he, well, no, not don't think, he never knew it happened to me. Yeah, it wasn't a pretty couple of weeks. It wasn't very nice what he got to hear about. I had to then ring his father to say what had happened because his dad didn't know about it either because it was before his time. Yeah.
You need to stop.
And I
Stop,
knew
Fleur.
I had to. It's not knew I had to. I had to come out of that and walk back out of the area to my aunt who was waiting out in the car and just drive her down to where she was staying without her seeing something had happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so good at always putting that face on.
Yes.
Yeah, I got her back down. I came home. My partner was home by that point. He knew some of the stuff that had happened to me in the past. Didn't know that one. Suspected that one. Yeah, he was very good. Even now, my son hasn't even apologised for the fist into the door. And he's now living with his father because I needed him to go down there for all of us so he can have some learning curves because he's going to have to cook for himself, clean, do all of everything because Dad's FIFO. It also gives his other younger sisters somewhere to go because they don't like their stepfather and they live a couple of streets away. So he's having to half look after them as well when they come through. But, you know, I've been really good at, shall we say, this has happened, this is what's going on. Shut it down, keep working through everything that needs working, as in I've got a business to run. I've got hundreds of people who are reliant on me to put it together. You know, and lately I know because I'm not doing enough of looking after myself. You know, it's like today, get up at 5:30. Okay, yes, I've done half hour in the garden. I've walked the dogs a couple of times around, done the exercises for my back. I have 4 loads of washing, you know, and that's all before 9 o'clock. In there, there's that bit going, I need to do proper exercise, or not, or I need to put in, and I'm a calendar girl. I like my calendar so I know where I'm at because there's so much going on. It was partly yesterday and it was because of this today. I've marked on the calendar, but I haven't worked out what to do. But there's a green mark on every month, and that's going to be my day doing something. Those things I want to do. And I had a group networking, which I don't particularly like networking, but this one's a bit different. So we all just chat. It's good. They're not, hi, how you going? One of the ladies there said she challenges herself to do one thing that scares the bejeebers out of her every year. I'm booking in hot air ballooning because I hate heights. So it's just the rest of the things. I want to go on the other half rides motorboats. I can't even remember the last time he managed to get on one for himself because he's the same as me, doing everything for everybody else.
Yes.
So, but I want to go on one of those trikes along the ocean front.
Yes.
Because you can. Why not?
Exactly. Thank you.
Yep. The carriage ride around Freos, things like that. I just want to, just even if it's only half a day doing something, it's just something different.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I
I've got
really,
Moulin Rouge booked in, things like that. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do these things because I'm working down hard. I'm achieving all the goals in business that I want to do and surpassing them, then having to reset the goals. But what about personal ones?
yes,
You know, they're the ones that keep us going, and I'm forgetting to do them.
exactly. Ah, I'm just writing this down because it's so good. I want to come back and say to you, thank you for that rawness. And it might have made people feel uncomfortable. But you know, this is part of life. This is what Brené Brown talks about, having empathy. So thank you for being so able to hold yourself in that space, knowing that this will be public. But what I'm being beautiful watching you is just you've been able to come through it, talk about it, and then come back to what you now need to do to support yourself. I really honor you, Fleur. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dale.
Because I know this has been a big thing for you, and we had no idea where this was going to go.
No.
And so again, I'm going to say yet again to everyone, I really honor you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm.
Mm.
Because it takes, I know when I first started sharing my story years ago, particularly around my father too, I actually initially found it very difficult, even though he had died. He died years ago, but I still found it quite difficult to do. But and it's your story, it's your reality.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? But you have been able to make this incredible life. So thank you, Fleur. I really, really appreciate it. And I think the things I want to need to set your personal goals as well as business ones.
Yeah.
And I'm loving what you're going to say because we are friends on Facebook, everyone. So I'm looking forward to when I'm going to hold her accountable. And by the end of the year, I must remember this, that have you done at least one of them? I mean, you've done one already by sharing this story. So you've actually challenged. You've done a challenge already. So that's number one. I mean, that to me might be you don't need to do anything else for a while because this is huge. You know, but I love, you know, hot air ballooning. You've got things that you know you want to do. Now you just, as you said, put it into your calendar. Because let's face it, we are not only through trauma and our experiences, but also society, we're not taught to put ourselves first. That's selfish, but selfish means that we can be there for everyone else. Your big heart.
Yeah. They put your kids first, not yourself. But if you forget to put yourself first, the kids don't carpenter.
Exactly. And you're not teaching them to say it's okay for me to put myself first, you know, and fill my cup. Because remember, that's the one thing, I mean, not having had children, but I can remember being said, you know, when you're on the plane, when the plane goes down, they said oxygen, you put the oxygen on yourself first, not your child. But what would you instinctively do? I know I would. I'd go for my child. So this is your
On that
oxygen.
note, it's the same. I had a car accident over 4 years ago now. I was more concerned with him screaming and getting the ambulance checking him out. I didn't get myself checked out.
Yeah.
So I had crushed shoulder bone and discs all went out in my neck. And it's taken 4 years to get that semi sorted out.
Yes.
And I've been operating on a level 12 out of 10 in pain.
This is it.
And yeah, still kept going. Definitely days I couldn't keep going because I couldn't walk. But, you know, there were points there where I couldn't even pick a pair of glasses up to put them on my face because the pain was too high.
Yep.
You know, friends were driving me places because I couldn't drive.
And I'm glad, thank you again for bringing that up as we come to and because again, this is what we do to ourselves and we don't understand it at that time. That decision has long-term repercussions. We don't get it. We just don't. Because again, I'm being selfish. I haven't got the time. I need to be. It's not that bad.
No. And then it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then being able to find someone to see about it then takes months upon months upon months.
Exactly right.
Years.
Exactly. Of time, money, energy. And this is coming back to what you're saying. Is what happened just before Christmas. You wanted to do whatever, but you ended up with back pain.
Yep.
And you had, so you didn't end up, so yes, the universe was telling you to slow down, but it was like, why do we need to go to that point where, poof, you know, I had to really tell you how to slow down. And that's a gift we can give ourselves. I know I've been doing it for the last 2 years. I really, really now give myself that gift. I have no questions, no qualms, no nothing. My time, which is wonderful. So on that note, what would you like to share, just to round it off? What would you just like to give a little message of hope, courage, whatever you...
Anything's possible if you want to make it happen.
Yes.
You know, I've been a single mum for my daughter. Like I said, my daughter's 30. I've done, in her life, I did 16 out of her 18 years on my own. All right. It's hard work. It's rewarding work. I worked for someone else for all of that time. That's interesting. I'll never go back to work for someone else now. I'm employed by myself.
Yeah.
But anything you want to have a go at. I've had a go at different styles of businesses, and some have sort of worked. Others, that really wasn't me. And I almost say I fell into events management because, the D-Stash is great fun. That's all. I was happy with that. I had my Etsy shop. I was selling things I was making. I was helping people with what was called Etsy support online. And Etsy themselves came to me because they knew I was running an event already and asked me to put on an event in the hills. And since then, everything's just gone boom. Yes. Ideas have formed. I research every idea I come into before it even hits any social media wave of, what do you guys think about this? Just to see if it is going to happen. And then usually it goes a bit more nuts. And then I'm like, right, let's implement this all.
And I like that, because I think the last thing, try different things until you fall into the one that you want, which is what you did. And I think that's, again, it's okay. You've given me a lesson, because I found that quite hard, because there's a sense of failure, making a mistake, I'll look an idiot, but you did that. So thank you. And give it a go, basically.
From every one of those.
Yes.
And as they say, you just don't know, okay, unless you have a go.
Yes.
All right, because there's all this time of fear of failure. That's big for all of us.
Yes.
I've got an event coming up at the end of next month that I hit the wall with the other day, and my hit wall moments are when I actually come up with the best ideas. Scary, but and within 2 days of that, my new idea to add to it has just gone boom. Okay, let's work, and it's happened.
And that's what I really love about you. And that's what gives me confidence to keep going and keep doing these things and keep doing these conversations. So Fleur, just how can we contact? What I'm going to do, everyone, once Fleur gives you that, we'll put it all into the description. So again, if you live in Perth, if you want to be part of the event, even or just to visit. But the other thing is, feel comfortable to reach out to us if you want to have a chat.
Exactly. I'm just currently rebranding, so the Perth Hills Events website is down at the moment. Another thing I'm added into my list is rebranding. Why not? Okay.
Yeah, just add something else.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the works. You can find me under Perth Hills Events, Perth Hills Artisan Market, Joondalup Artisan Market, Hills Fabric and Craft, D-Stash, Perth Sewing and Craft Extravaganza, and Gourmet in the Park, and a few other things in the...
You know what? Other things in there, that's right, in the mix. So what we'll do, everyone, I'll just put some main ones in there, and then you can explore. So thank you so much. So if anyone you feel you've been triggered, do reach out. Just know you're not alone. And again, Fleur, I would like to thank you for just being so beautifully you. Love you to bits.
Thanks,
thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you.